The first mistake: underestimating humans. The Galactic Council had seen thousands of species rise and fall. They had fought wars across the stars, crushed rebellions, and conquered planets with ease. To them, humans were nothing special, just another primitive race that had barely left their homeworld. When humanity was granted a seat in the Galactic Council, many powerful empires mocked the decision. The Thal XR Dominion, the largest military force in the galaxy, laughed openly. "What can these soft-body creatures do?" Warlord Zarnak scoffed. "They have no advanced weapons, no great fleets. They are ants among giants." To prove their superiority, the Thal XR declared war on humanity. It wasn't even a real war. To them, it was a demonstration, a way to show the lesser races that the Council's elite ruled unchallenged. A massive fleet of 1,200 Thal XR warships moved toward the human-controlled sector of Alpha Centauri, where the largest human colony, New Terra, was located. The Battle of Alpha Centauri begins. As the Thal XR fleet entered the system, they broadcasted a message on all human frequencies. "Surrender now, and we may let some of you live as servants." But Earth's response was simple and cold. "Come and find out." The warlord smirked. "They think they can resist." The human fleet was small, only 200 ships, mostly made of outdated vessels. Outnumbered 6-1, they should have been destroyed instantly. The Thal XR opened fire, their energy cannons lighting up the darkness of space. Their ships moved in a traditional formation. Tight, predictable, slow. That's when everything went wrong for them. The first shock. Instead of fighting like other races, the humans vanished. Their ships dispersed in every direction, breaking formations, dodging attacks, and moving in ways that defied standard battle strategy. "What are they doing?" an alien officer asked. They're not fighting like anyone we've faced before," another stammered. And then came the second shock. The human ships weren't just running. They were hunting. Small human corvettes, barely a fraction of the size of Thal XR cruisers, darted between enemy ships like predators in the deep sea. High-speed missiles tore through enemy hulls. Stealth bombers appeared from nowhere, launching EMP pulses that shut down entire battleships in seconds. The Thal XR fleet collapsed into chaos. "How?" Warlord Zarnak roared, watching his ships explode one after another. He didn't know the truth yet. Humanity had been studying alien tactics for years. They knew how the Galactic Council fought. And they knew one thing: predictable enemies always lose. The turning point. Within 20 minutes, the Thal XR lost 400 ships. Their warships, built for direct combat, couldn't hit the human vessels. Too fast, too smart, too unpredictable. "Break formation," Zarnak screamed. "All ships, retreat and regroup." But the humans didn't let them escape. From the darkness of space, massive railguns fired, long-range weapons far more powerful than anything the Thal XR had ever seen. They tore through enemy cruisers like paper. Then came the final blow. From the surface of New Terra, a hidden planetary defense system activated, a prototype railgun designed for extreme range. It fired once, and the largest Thal XR battleship, Zarnak's own flagship, was obliterated in a single shot. The aftermath. The remaining Thal XR forces panicked. "We have to get out of here," an alien captain shouted. But there was nowhere to run. The humans had already cut off their retreat routes. Eye-controlled attack drones swarmed their engines. Stealth bombers hit their supply ships. In just 1 hour, the mighty Thal XR fleet was completely destroyed. It wasn't just a defeat. It was a massacre. The galaxy reacts. When news of the battle reached the Galactic Council, there was silence. The Thal XR had been one of the strongest military forces in the galaxy. And yet, humans had crushed them in one battle. Many alien leaders refused to believe it. "It's a lie," one council member shouted. "Humans are weak. They can't have done this." But the battle recordings proved everything. The mighty Thalaxar fleet, gone. The humans, barely any losses. And then, a final message arrived from Earth's Supreme Commander. A simple, chilling statement. If you come for us again, we won't stop at just your fleets. For the first time in history, the Galactic Council feared humanity. And this was just the beginning. Cliffhanger. As the video footage of the battle plays in the council chambers, an alien warlord watches in silence. He clenches his fist and mutters, "Impossible. They were supposed to be primitive." The Blood Sky Massacre. The Thalaxar Dominion was in ruins. Their fleet, once feared across the galaxy, had been shattered at Alpha Centauri. Yet, instead of learning their lesson, the Galactic Council refused to believe the truth. The humans got lucky, scoffed Supreme Overlord Drex of the Teltar Dominion. "We are stronger, smarter. We have ruled for thousands of years. We will wipe them out where the Thalaxar failed." The council murmured in agreement. The Teltar Dominion controlled dozens of worlds, their armies spanning across the galaxy. They had enslaved entire civilizations, crushed countless rebellions. To them, humans were nothing but insects. Overlord Drex issued a command that would be remembered for centuries. Burn their colony. Leave no survivors. The invasion of New Terra. A fleet of 700 Zeltar warships entered human space, heading toward New Terra. This time, they didn't bother with diplomacy. There was no warning, no message, just fire. Orbital bombardment rained down on the human colony, turning entire cities to rubble. Millions screamed as buildings collapsed, as fire consumed everything in its path. The skies of New Terra turned blood red. "It's over already," a Zeltar general said, watching from orbit. "The humans won't recover from this." The fleet moved in, sending down tens of thousands of Zeltar ground troops, expecting a quick and easy victory. That's when the real war began. The humans didn't surrender. The Zeltar had crushed hundreds of colonies before. Every species they conquered did the same thing. They ran. They hid. They begged for mercy. Humans. They fought. From the ruins of their cities, survivors emerged, covered in ash, eyes burning with rage. Soldiers, civilians, even children. Every human became a warrior that day. They had no time to prepare. No great armies to defend them. And yet, they fought like demons. The first nightmare. The streets became a graveyard. The Zeltar marched through the ruined streets of New Terra, expecting an easy slaughter. Then, the traps activated. Entire buildings collapsed on marching squads, burying them under tons of rubble. Explosive devices, hidden in the ruins, turned alleys into firestorms. Snipers picked off commanders with inhuman precision. Zeltar soldiers screamed as invisible drones struck from the sky, slicing through armor, tearing them apart. "Where are they? Where are they?" A commander shouted. They were everywhere. "We need reinforcements." Another officer begged. "There are no reinforcements," came the cold response. The battle was already lost. The second nightmare. The shadows moved. As night fell, the Teltar learned something even more terrifying. The humans didn't stop fighting. While other species retreated after sunset, humans hunted in the dark. "I saw them," a surviving soldier whispered in horror. "I swear, they don't sleep. They don't stop." Elite Zeltar squads disappeared one by one. Their bodies were never found. At dawn, only one Zeltar officer was left alive to tell the tale. He was found crawling through the rubble, his armor covered in blood. They're not like the others," he muttered, eyes empty with terror. "They are monsters." The final nightmare, the last message. The Zeltar fleet tried to retreat. They never made it out. As their warships began to flee, a single human battleship arrived in orbit, the HSS Retribution. It was just one ship. And yet, it carried enough firepower to erase an entire planet. Human Admiral Tobias Gray, opened a transmission to the Xeltar fleet. His voice was calm, quiet, and merciless. "You came here to burn our people alive. You slaughtered the innocent, believing no one would stop you. Now you will understand what true war means." Then, with a single command, the Retribution's Hellfire cannons activated. Massive energy blasts tore through the Xeltar warships. "Our shields are failing. Hull breaches on all decks. It's tearing through us like paper." Within 10 minutes, the entire Xeltar invasion fleet was wiped out. The few who survived were allowed to leave, not as warriors, but as messengers. They returned to the Galactic Council, broken and afraid. "They are not weak," the Xeltar commander whispered, shaking. "They are not lesser beings. They are something else. And if we do not stop them now, they will rule this galaxy." For the first time in history, the Council began to fear extinction. Cliffhanger. A Galactic Council meeting is called in secret. The remaining alien leaders watch footage of the battle in silence. Then, Supreme Overlord Drex slams his fist on the table. "This is unacceptable. We must destroy them before they destroy us." But another voice speaks, a quiet, trembling voice. "You don't understand," says an old warlord. "You can't defeat them, because they never stop fighting." And so, the entire galaxy prepared for war. But deep inside, many of them knew the truth. Humanity had already won. The battle of silent space, when humans went dark. The galaxy was on edge. The Thalaxar had fallen. The Xeltar had been butchered. And now, the Galactic Alliance, a coalition of the most powerful alien empires, declared total war against humanity. "They must be stopped before it's too late," screamed High Chancellor Vroth of the Zorak Dominion. "We will strike before they become too strong," agreed Supreme Overlord Drex. A combined fleet of 10,000 warships, the largest armada ever assembled in galactic history, was prepared for a final crushing blow against humanity. Their first target, the Orion Belt, home to a vital human space station. They expected a battle. What they got was something else entirely. The fleet that entered the void. As the Galactic Alliance Armada approached the Orion Belt, something was wrong. The human fleet was supposed to be here, but there was nothing. No warships, no defenses, not even a single distress signal. It was as if humans had abandoned the system. "Perhaps they finally realized resistance is futile," sneered Admiral Carvex of the Draloth Empire. The Armada moved deeper into the system, their sensors scanning every inch of space. Still nothing. A massive human space station loomed in the distance. It was supposed to be operational. It should have been broadcasting signals. Yet it was completely dark. No power, no movement, just silence. "Something is wrong," a Zorak commander muttered. "Cowards ran away." Admiral Carvex spat. "We take the station. Send in the ground teams." The shadows move. The first dropships landed inside the station. Xenov soldiers poured into the dark hallways, their weapons scanning every shadow. Still, nothing. No resistance detected. Not even a single human present. They spread out, securing different sections of the station. It was empty, or so they thought. Then, the lights flickered. A strange clicking noise echoed through the hallways. "Did you hear that? I don't like this." Then the screaming began. One by one, the teams started disappearing. "Squad 5, report. Static. Squad 7, what's happening?" More static. Then one voice finally came through, filled with terror. "They're here. We don't know where. We don't know how. But they're killing us." And then, silence again. The fleet falls into chaos. Up in space, the Galactic Alliance fleet still had no idea what was happening inside the station. Then suddenly, their communications went dark. Every ship, every commander, cut off from each other. "What is happening? I can't reach the ground teams. Sir, we're detecting something. Then, out of the blackness of space, the human fleet decloaked. They had been there the entire time. Invisible, silent, watching, waiting. And now, they attacked. The execution begins. Human warships didn't charge in like normal fleets. Instead, they struck with precision, like assassins in the void, targeting command ships first, hacking enemy weapon systems, shutting down life support. Entire enemy vessels lost power in an instant, drifting helplessly. Then the real horror began. Sir, our oxygen levels are dropping. We can't move. The engines are dead. Something is inside our ship. Boarding pods smashed into enemy hulls. And from them, human shock troopers emerged, silent, armored, and relentless. They didn't fight with standard weapons. They used EMP grenades, knives, and suppressed firearms, killing in total silence. The Admiral's final moments. Admiral Carvex, once so confident in the Alliance's victory, watched in horror as his fleet was dismantled around him. "This is impossible," he whispered. Then, on his personal screen, a message appeared. No video, no voice, just text. "You came here to hunt us. Now, you are the hunted." Carvex's blood ran cold. No, no, no. Before he could scream, the windows of his flagship shattered, and the cold vacuum of space silenced him forever. The aftermath. The entire Galactic Alliance fleet was gone. 10,000 warships, billions of soldiers, erased from existence, and humanity. They lost less than 100 ships. The message was clear. You cannot fight the darkness. You cannot fight what you cannot see. And you will never defeat humanity. Cliffhanger. Back on the Galactic Council, a meeting was held in utter silence. One by one, the remaining alien leaders turned off their screens, retreating into hiding. Only Supreme Overlord Drex remained. His hands trembled. His species had ruled for thousands of years. He had led a galaxy-spanning empire. And yet, for the first time in his life, he knew fear. "They're not just warriors," he whispered. "They are something else entirely." And as the lights in the council chamber flickered, for just a moment, he swore he saw a human figure watching from the shadows. The day an empire burned. The Galactic Alliance had fallen into silence. After the massacre at Silent Space, the surviving alien empires were terrified. No one spoke of humanity anymore. No threats. No bold declarations of war. Only whispers and fear. But there was one ruler who refused to accept reality. The eternal Emperor Kaveric of the Vrulax Imperium. The Vrulax were among the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy. They had never lost a war in 10,000 years. To them, humanity's victories were nothing but tricks and illusions. "They are not gods," Kaveric growled in the council chamber. "They bleed. They die. And I will be the one to prove it." His plan was simple. He would burn Earth itself. And so, the largest armada in galactic history was assembled. 20,000 warships. 50 million ground troops. Planet-cracking weaponry. It was not just an invasion. It was extermination. The attack on Earth. The Vrulax fleet arrived in Sol system, their massive warships casting shadows over the planets. Their sensors detected Earth's defenses, but they laughed at what they saw. Pathetic. A Vrulax commander sneered. "They only have a fraction of our fleet." The human defense forces numbered only 3,000 ships. Heavily outgunned, outnumbered, doomed. Or so they thought. The first strike. Humanity's true power awakens. The moment the Vrulax fleet entered orbit, humanity made their move. And for the first time in recorded history, the galaxy witnessed true terror. The skies above Earth ignited, not with energy weapons, but with metal. "What? What is that?" a Vrulax officer screamed. Kinetic rods, thousands of tungsten rods, the size of skyscrapers, dropped from Earth's orbital platforms. Falling at Mach 10, they hit the Vrulax fleet with the force of nuclear bombs. Boom, boom, boom. Entire capital ships were torn apart, their shields useless against the raw impact force. We are losing ships. Shields cannot block this. In less than 5 minutes, 3,000 Vrulax ships were gone. And then, the real battle began. The second strike, the AI nightmare. The Vrulax counterattacked, unleashing planet-cracking energy beams aimed at Earth's surface. But something unexpected happened. Their weapons stopped mid-fire. Their engines shut down. Their communications were scrambled. What's happening? The Vrulax High Command screamed. Then, a message flashed across every enemy ship's screen. No voice, no face, just a single, terrifying sentence. Your technology belongs to us now. Then, Earth's AI systems activated. The Vrulax fleet's own ships turned against them. Turrets turned inward, opening fire on their own forces. Engines overloaded, causing ships to explode from within. Fighter squadrons hacked mid-flight started kamikaze diving into their capital ships. It's not possible. We are fighting our own fleet. It's the humans. They've taken control. The third strike, the Phantom Soldiers. The remaining Vrulax ground troops landed on Earth, preparing to conquer human cities. But Earth was already empty. Cities stood silent. Streets deserted. No resistance. Where are they? Then a soldier heard something. A whisper. A shadow moved. Then, screaming. Human special forces, cloaked in adaptive camouflage, emerged from the darkness. They didn't fight like soldiers. They hunted. Silent knives in the dark. Explosions planted in key structures. Stealth drones snatching soldiers one by one. We are being slaughtered. We don't even see them coming. Within 12 hours, the Vrulax ground forces were completely wiped out. The final strike. The end of an empire. Emperor Kvarak watched in horror as his unstoppable army was reduced to ashes. Then, a human warship decloaked directly above his throne world. It was the HSS Revenant. One ship, against a planet. And yet, the entire Vrulax Imperium knew they were already dead. A final transmission played. This time, there was a voice. Cold, unforgiving, human. You declared total war on humanity. You came to burn our home. Now, we burn yours. The Revenant fired. A single planet cracker missile launched from its railgun, bypassing all defenses. It didn't explode immediately. Instead, it burrowed deep into the planet's core. And then, Vrulax Prime detonated from within. A 10,000-year-old empire, erased in seconds. The aftermath. The entire galaxy went silent. No one spoke of war anymore. No one challenged humanity again. The message was clear. We do not seek war. But if you come for us, we will erase everything you love. And just like that, the age of human dominance had begun. Cliffhanger. In the ruins of the Galactic Council, the few surviving alien leaders watched the destruction of Vrulax Prime in horror. It's over, one whispered. The war is lost, another muttered. But Supreme Overlord Drex shook his head. No, he said, eyes burning with hatred. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. As he spoke, deep in an unknown sector of space, something far older than the Galactic Alliance stirred. Something watching. Something waiting. And for the first time, it turned its attention to Earth. The betrayal at Zeta Prime. The galaxy was in shock. The Vrulax Imperium, an empire that had ruled for 10,000 years, was erased in a single day. No one challenged humanity anymore. No war declarations. No threats. Instead, the Galactic Council sent a peace offer. We wish to negotiate. Their message read, no more war. No more destruction. Let us talk. The Supreme Commander of Earth, Admiral Alexander Kane, agreed. But he knew something wasn't right. Humans had seen how the Council worked. Deception, diplomacy, backstabbing. They didn't want peace. They wanted a trap. The meeting at Zeta Prime. Zeta Prime was a neutral world, a perfect place for peace talks. The Galactic Council invited Earth's top leaders, military officers, diplomats, and scientists to discuss a new treaty. The meeting hall was grand, filled with representatives from every major species. At the center stood Overlord Drex, the last surviving ruler of the old Galactic Alliance. He greeted Admiral Kane with a polite smile. "Let us put the past behind us," Drex said. "Together, we can build a better future." Kane didn't trust him, but he played along. "Humanity seeks peace," he said. "We are here to talk." The discussions lasted hours. Treaties were drafted, terms were set. Then, at exactly midnight, everything went wrong. The betrayal. Without warning, all human delegates collapsed. "Sir, I feel weak," one officer gasped before falling to the floor. "Poison," another choked out before going still. Within seconds, every human in the room was unconscious. Drex watched with cold satisfaction. "Finally," he muttered, "the war ends today." Then he turned to his commanders. "Kill them all." The fall of Earth's leaders. Elite alien assassins moved in, blades drawn, guns ready. One by one, the unconscious humans were executed. Blood stained the marble floors. The greatest minds and strategists of humanity, gone. And that's when the real plan was revealed. High above Zeta Prime, a hidden fleet of 30,000 warships uncloaked. The largest attack force ever assembled. "Launch the invasion," Drex commanded. "Destroy Earth before they even know what happened." The fleet jumped into hyperspace, heading straight for Sol. Drex smiled. "At last," he whispered, watching the human bodies at his feet. "Humanity dies today." But they forgot one thing. For all their strategy, all their planning, the Galactic Council had made one fatal mistake. They thought humans would walk into a trap unprepared. They thought Earth's leaders were the real threat. They were wrong. Because humanity's real weapon was already on Zeta Prime. And they had just woken him up. The ghost of war rises. The assassins had moved quickly, too quickly. They had forgotten one body. A man who should have been dead. A man who didn't stay dead. Admiral Alexander Kane. His eyes snapped open. His veins burned with something unnatural. The poison had failed. The others were dead, but Kane was alive. And he was angry. "Bad idea," he growled. Then he moved. The nightmare begins. Kane wasn't just a soldier. He was the deadliest man in human history, a one-man war machine. And now, in the heart of the Galactic Council's trap, he was loose. Kane tore through the guards like a force of nature. One punch crushed an alien skull. A stolen plasma blade sliced through armor like paper. Within minutes, the meeting hall was a bloodbath. Drex watched in horror as his elite warriors fell. "Kill him," he screamed. "He's just one man." But one man was all humanity needed. Kane grabbed an alien officer, breaking his arm in one move. "Where's your fleet?" he snarled. The officer screamed in pain. Kane smiled. "Let's go find it." The lone hunter, Kane stole a warship, breaking out of Zeta Prime's airspace. With only one ship, he chased down the entire galactic fleet. One man. Against 30,000 warships. It should have been impossible. And yet, Kane never lost a battle. The final transmission. Back on Earth, alarms blared as the galactic fleet arrived. Earth's defenses were overwhelmed. There are too many of them. We can't hold them off. Then, a transmission cut through the chaos. A single voice. Kane's voice. Listen up. I just found our enemy fleet, and I've got a plan. The entire fleet turned to the screen. Kane stood on the bridge of an enemy warship, covered in blood, eyes filled with pure, unstoppable rage. You think you can kill humanity? He asked. Let me show you why that's the worst mistake of your lives. Then he pressed a single button, and everything changed. Cliffhanger. The Galactic Council's own fleet systems shut down. All 30,000 ships lost control. What's happening? Our engines are dead. We've been hacked. Kane smiled. I just turned your own weapons against you. And then every single warship in the Galactic Fleet opened fire on each other. The last stand of the Galactic Council. The galaxy was breaking apart. The Galactic Council's greatest fleet, 30,000 warships strong, was no longer theirs. One man, Admiral Alexander Kane, had hijacked their entire armada. And now, the greatest weapon in history was aimed back at them. The beginning of the end. On the Galactic Council homeworld, panic filled the air. Overlord Drex watched in horror as every screen, every transmission, every signal showed the same thing. Their own fleet turning against them. This is impossible. Drex slammed his fists on the table. How can one human do this? A terrified officer stammered. Sir, our ships are responding to human commands now. Drex's blood turned ice cold. What commands? The officer swallowed hard. Kill everything. Drex froze. And then, the massacre began. The Galactic Fleet burns. Across space, warships turned on each other. Cruisers fired at dreadnoughts. Fighters tore apart their own squadrons. Weapons designed to destroy planets were now destroying their own empire. The Galactic Council's forces had no escape. Kane had locked down hyperspace routes. He had shut down emergency evacuations. He had turned the galaxy's strongest military into its own executioner. Sir, we're detecting something worse, an officer whispered. Drex turned sharply. Worse than this. The officer shook as he pointed to the screen. They're coming. Who's coming? The officer's voice was barely a whisper. The humans. The final invasion. For years, humanity had never taken the fight to alien homeworlds. They defended. They resisted. They survived. But now? Now, they were coming. And they weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were here to end the war. The arrival of the human supercarriers. Out of hyperspace, the largest fleet ever seen in history appeared. Not thousands of ships, not tens of thousands, but millions. By the stars, an alien admiral gasped. Human supercarriers. Each one the size of a moon, each one capable of carrying entire armies. And leading them all was the HSS Revenant. Admiral Kane stood on the bridge, calm, ruthless. He sent one final message. You declared war on us. You slaughtered our people, poisoned our leaders, burned our colonies. Now it's time for you to face the consequences. Then he gave the order. No mercy. The final war begins. The Galactic Council's last remaining fleet tried to fight. It didn't matter. Humanity had evolved beyond war. Their eye-controlled ships dodged enemy fire before it was even fired. Kinetic rods the size of skyscrapers turned enemy capitals into craters. Human super soldiers, wearing armor stronger than a battleship's hull, stormed the council chambers. It wasn't a battle. It was a slaughter. Surrender, Drex screamed. We yield. Kane's response was cold and final. Too late. And then, the orbital bombardment began. The end of the Galactic Council. Within 6 hours, the Council's entire empire was gone. Every planet, every capital, every fortress, wiped from existence. The last survivors, those who had once ruled the galaxy, were now prisoners. And in the ruins of the Council chamber, Drex was dragged before Kane. His once great empire, his once mighty fleet. Ashes. You should have left us alone, Cain said. You wanted war. Now you have nothing left to fight for. Drex shook with rage. We could have been gods, he spat. Cain leaned in close. We already are. And with that, Drex was executed. The aftermath. Humanity's final warning. With the Galactic Council gone, only one thing remained. Humanity sent a single transmission across the galaxy. The war is over. We are now in charge. Any empire that rises against us will burn just like the last one. And so, the new era began. For the first time in history, the galaxy belonged to humanity, and nothing would ever threaten them again. Cliffhanger. Deep in the unknown regions, something watched. Something old. Something that had been waiting. As humanity took its place as rulers of the galaxy, the ancient darkness awakened. A voice echoed through the void. They have won the war. But can they survive what comes next? And far beyond the edges of human space, the true enemy began to move. The unknown war. Humanity's next nightmare. The galaxy belonged to humanity now. The once mighty Galactic Council was gone. Every alien empire that dared to challenge Earth had fallen. And yet, something felt wrong. Despite their victory, despite their dominance, humanity could feel it. A presence, a whisper in the dark. Something was watching. And then, the stars began to go dark. The vanishing worlds. It started in Sector 112X, on the edges of human-controlled space. A routine patrol of 6 human warships was sent to investigate a distress call from a mining colony. When they arrived, the planet was gone. Not destroyed, not invaded, just gone. As if it had never existed. This doesn't make sense, Captain Riley of the HSS Vanguard muttered. Where's the debris? Where's the wreckage? There's nothing, his officer whispered. No bodies. No ruins, no trace that a planet was ever here. Then their scanners detected something. A single transmission, faint, almost a whisper, a human voice. They are coming. Then the fleet's engines died. The lights flickered, and before they could react, something pulled them into the void. The black abyss. First contact. Back on Earth, alarms blared. A second human fleet had vanished, and then a third. This isn't a rebellion, Admiral Cain muttered, scanning the reports. This is something else. Earth's best scientists analyzed the data, desperate for answers. Then they found it. A pattern. Something older than the galaxy itself. Something that had existed long before the first alien empires. And then the deep space probes detected it. A structure. No, a graveyard. A region of space filled with the remains of civilizations older than human history. And in the center, a single monolith. A massive black structure, pulsating with an unknown energy. On its surface, written in a language humanity had never seen before, but somehow understood. You are not alone. And then the transmission began. The warning from the dead. The message came from beyond time itself. A voice, ancient, broken, terrified. It spoke in whispers, each word etched with horror. If you are hearing this, it is already too late. We thought we were the strongest. We thought we ruled the galaxy. We were wrong. Something was here before us. Something that does not build. Something that does not conquer. Something that only feeds. Cain watched the message in silence, his fists clenched. Then the voice gave its final warning. Do not search for them. Do not speak their name. Do not make the same mistake we did. Run. And then the signal ended. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Cain turned to his officers. His voice was calm. Prepare the fleet. We're not running. The Dark Awakening. In the unexplored regions of space, something stirred. For the first time in millions of years, It had been noticed. Humanity had won against the weak children of the galaxy. But now, they had gained the attention of something else. Something older than light. Something that had seen countless civilizations rise and fall. And now, for the first time in eons, it turned its gaze toward Earth. The stars around it blinked out, and a single horrifying thought whispered across the void. They have come far. Let us see if they can survive us. Then, from the darkness, they arrived. Cliffhanger. Alarms screamed through human-controlled space. Unidentified ships incoming. They are not responding to communications. They are absorbing light itself. On Earth, Kane watched the horror unfold. For the first time in his life, he felt uncertainty. And then the final message arrived. A single word. A word that no species had ever survived hearing. A word that echoed through the minds of every living being. A name. Their name. And in that moment, the real war began.